Right, so I'm going to do finally an actual day in the life of the food that I eat and try and make this concise, not just yibba yabba, about where I am at 10 weeks out, what the diet looks like on the training day. I'm going to go to the gym today with my son. So he's 14, he wants to start doing a bit of training. I don't think he wants to be a bodybuilder, I don't blame him, but he does want to just get into some sort of fitness and get in shape. Probably just wants a six pack. So we're going to do start with breakfast. Now, I always start the day with Amino Man, and I have Amino Collagen when I wake up. And then I'll get some cardio done, 30 minutes, some core work done, 20 minutes, an ice bath for 3 or 4 minutes, so I can manage that. And that really refreshes me, wakes me up for the day. So when you have these days like I had this morning, I've woke up absolutely bombarded and feel exhausted from a really heavy leg session that I've done yesterday. Having an ice bath just refreshes the muscles and the mind so we can start the day right and not use that as an excuse to not be productive. So let's have a look at breakfast on a training day. All right, so breakfast always starts on a training day with 115 grams of chicken. Now, I use this chicken here, and I really, really recommend you all use this Prep King chicken because I've been bodybuilding 30 years and chicken is so boring. But when you use the Prep King chicken, it's super moist. And I'm even happy in chicken cold. They don't use any inflammatory ingredients. And they've got loads of different flavors. So this one is a jerk chicken, but they've got peri peri and they've got fajita, and they're amazing as well. So I buy these in the kilos. They're sent to me every week. Deliver on Thursday, but you got to order before Sunday. So I'll just cut this up, 115 grams on the scale. And there we go. So I'm not completely anal about it. If it's close enough to 115, I'll take it. Right, 114, 115, perfect. Okay, so we've got 115 chicken, and then I boil my rice every day in a rice cooker. And we're going to have 150 grams there of rice. So if you ever have any digestive issues, always boil your rice fresh every morning. Let it stay warm, don't reheat it, and then you'll have great digestion. This is far better on your digestion than any of these packet rices. So if you are eating them, I would get out away from them, get back to old school. And it's so cheap in comparison. So there we go. Pretty much 150. Now, with my chicken meal, I'll also have some of this, which is a natural raw sauerkraut. And I'll normally just have like a handful of this or a spoonful of this. Use the scissors here. That's what's convenient. And then, about 20 grams or so of sauerkraut there with breakfast, which is really helpful for your gut microbiome. And then what I like with the chicken, and it's great as a pre-workout, is just using some raw beetroot as well. So I'll get out a chunk of this, really cheap, buy it in any supermarket, about 50 grams, and I'll just use the scissors to cut that up so I'm not messing around when it's coming to eating. And after you've done your cardio and done the ice bath, a few hours have gone by since you've woken up, you're now ready to eat. So that's the first part of the meal. Now I'll put a gram of salt on that. And then as a second part of the meal, I have 50 grams here, which has already been weighed out or 45 grams it is actually, of cream of rice, something sweet to sort of finish the meal off, which I use quite a lot when I'm dieting. And then I put 100 grams of blueberries on there. What's on? Done this before. And a bit of salt on there, another like half a gram of salt on there. And then some cinnamon, a little bit of sweetener to finish it off. And then on top of the chicken and rice, which I almost forgot, is I have 2 whole eggs. Now I use one of these little spray bottles and put macadamia nut oil in. Don't ever use these 1 cal sprays because they're terribly bad seed oils, even though they're low in calorie. You can just grab one of these off Amazon and put your own oil in there. And then you can use a good quality oil. Another oil option that I use actually is this here, which is 100% avocado oil spray. So that's another option. You can get that from supermarkets. A couple of eggs in here. Do this one-handed. Oh, that's not the best version of an egg, is it? That one's come out a bit better. And there's some salt and pepper in there, and once that's cooked, throw that on the chicken and rice. Makes out for a lovely meal. And just to add a little bit of sweetness to the rice, I add 10 grams of a Manuka honey, which is over 300 MGO, and that runs off from there. Okay, so meal 2 is going to go down now. This is a pre-workout meal. And before I have all of my meals, what I tend to do is use this little pill box, which I got from Amazon, and then just labeled what I've got in each of these. So hopefully you can see that. So I've got mastizymes, which are a digestive enzyme. I have 3 of them before each meal. I have 2 amino man omega-3 capsules before every meal. I have I have 1 betaine HCl, which just helps with preventing any acid reflux and ensuring that I digest the meals really well. I have one of these as I'm eating the meal. So in the middle of a meal, which is when they tend to work best. I have a berberine prior to a meal, and then I also have a magnesium with every meal. And so that's what I'll do. The actual supplements are here, but what I do is rather than have them all separately and keep like pulling the pill boxes out like you would here, these are the brands I use. I use Biooptimizers for the mastizymes, for the HCl, and for the magnesium. So these are all great products. If you're going to order them, go on to Biooptimizers in the UK, put in code NEALE10, NEALE 10. That will save you 10% off their products. And then I use Amino Man, as you know, to fuel around the training sessions. They've got great products. They're more sports performance range, but they also do health supplements as well. And their omega-3s are fantastic. These are the ones I use off them. And then these are kept in a dark glass container, or they come in metallic lined packet. These are stored in the fridge. And that's where I'll keep all of my omegas because it keeps a purity. So they don't go rancid and off through heat and light. And so that's the products I'll take with each of my meals. So let's look at meal 2 now. This is going to be 145 grams of salmon, which is wild caught salmon. I've talked about it a lot. Just get it from Aldi or Iceland, frozen. It's affordable. It tastes decent. It's really lean and low fat. And it's got no parasites. It's been frozen. It's important. And then I'll have 150 grams of cooked rice with it, and about 3 or 4 grams of coconut oil, which just help like moisten that salmon, and then a small amount of chopped dates. And I believe it's about 15 grams. Let me just double check that. And so you get some really easy digesting food that's light, it's not voluminous. I'll put the diet up on the YouTube here now, so we can leave that on and you can see the meals as we go through. Sometimes if I don't train in the order that's listed in here, I'll just bring a meal in that's next online and just carry on. It's not rocket science. It's what we eat over the course of the day, what digests well before and after training. So let's get on with it. Okay, so before we go gym, I always put together a post-workout meal. Now, I normally have something super easy to digest. I've not got the best appetite after I've trained really hard. So that tends to be something like, today I've gone for Rice Krispies, and I'm going to have 120 grams of this, but sometimes I'll use cream of rice as well here. And this is probably the only part of the day that I think it's worth using a whey protein isolate. is after training, something to digest super quick, super fast makes the most sense. So a whey isolate kind of trumps food in that case, especially if you haven't got much of an appetite, which I typically won't have after I've trained like a really hard leg session, not particularly hungry. So I have 120 grams of cream of rice or Rice Krispies, and then 30 grams of chopped dates. Now, I get these on Amazon, and so I would suggest if you're going to use dates, this is much easier if you buy the chopped ones on Amazon, because if you buy the whole ones, you'll just end up walloping them, and one or two of them will make 30 grams, and you'll easily eat more than that. And they taste like toffee. They're a fantastic tasting dried fruit. And so this way it allows me to measure them out and be a bit more liberal with them. So 30 grams of this, and then that'll round my little Tupperware tub up to 150 grams. And that's what we're going to have post-workout. And what I do with that is I take that dry in the container to the gym, like so. And so that's easy, doesn't make a mess, can't really make a mess. And then I'll take one of the best forms of protein, I think, on the market is a hydrolyzed, you can see that hydrolyzed grass-fed clear whey. And so this is going to be the most filtered whey you can get, that's going to get straight in the system, got no lactose in, hardly any fat, zero sugars, and so on. And this is from Amino Man. This is a 25 gram per scoop serving. I'm going to have 2 scoops of this. So about 50 grams of this, 50 grams of protein. 60 grams serving is 50 grams protein. That's what I'll be having. And I'll just mix that with a little bit of water and pour it onto my cereal. So that's like a mango flavored sort of juice that I'm just using to moisten up the cereal. Or if I had the cream of rice, I'd just drink this separately and then eat the cream of rice, which is just made of boiling water, like I showed you earlier today. And so that's what I'd have there post-workout. Super easy, super convenient. And then at this point, before I go to the gym as well, I'll put together my pre-workout supplements. So what do they look like? So I'll put them all in a container like this. So this works for me because in the bottom here, I can already put in the powder that I'm going to have in my intra, which is what I'm drinking whilst I train. And in the top bit here is what I'll have in my pre. And so I can make this at any time of the day and it's not going to go off or go stale. And so what's in here? Well, for me, I don't like any products that have got stimulants in. I don't like any products that have got sweeteners in and too much flavorings, which is why I'm affiliated with Amino Man. And the products I use from them to go to the gym is simple. It's as simple as they've got an all-in-one product called Amino Loader. So I have 20 grams of that. And this has got all your essential amino acids, your creatine, HMB, glycerol for the pump, citrulline malate for the pump, as well as beta-alanin, tyrosine, and taurine. Great product to have as an all-in-one. And I take 20 grams of that. I put that in the top part of the shaker as the pre, and I'll put another 20 grams in the bottom of the shaker. So, in total, there's like 10 grams of aminos, 10 grams of creatine, 6 grams of HMB, 5 grams of glycerol, 5 grams of beta-alanine, 5 grams of tyrosine, 4 grams of citrulline malate, and a gram of taurine. So that is a great product. And if you split that between the two, you won't get all the itchiness and so on that you could get by taking too much beta-alanine in one serving, which I particularly hate. This tastes fantastic. It's just a blueberry flavor. It's flavored with natural blueberries, no artificial sweeteners, tastes great. Get it down and give it a try if you haven't already. So now with that, that's not the only thing I take. I will also add a gram of this Bayer Gold, which is a mineral salt. Hopefully you can see that. Camera's playing away. Oh, there it is. It's a mineral salt. So get that on Amazon. Let's put a gram of that in the pre-workout and a gram of that in the interest to get all the electrolytes. This bag will last me a month. Cost about 15 quid. If you're out there buying your electrolyte and you're spending 30 quid for a tub just so it's got some flavouring with it and it doesn't have all the minerals in, doesn't have the same price point as this, you're probably missing the trick. So I would go with this. And then on top of that, I also have Carbex, and unflavored, so no sweeteners. And I'll put a scoop of this, which is 20 grams in the pre and 20 grams on the intra. And I think if you're taking carbs or you're not taking carbs with your aminos and your creatine to get the most out of your training session, you are missing the trick. However, you have to be in the right body composition to really benefit from this. So if your goal is fat loss, I wouldn't be drinking your calories or your carbs. I'd be saving them for the food and calories you're allowed to eat. But if your goal, once you're lean, is to build some muscle, then it certainly helps fantastically well shuttle all the aminos and all the nutrients into your cells as and when your body needs them when you're training. But also, it also fights off cortisol. The stress release that happens in training will rise cortisol, and that can break down muscle, which is not what we want to achieve through training, not in a negative way. We want to achieve muscle breakdown from the weightlifting that we're doing. And so this will prevent cortisol. So it will allow you to train longer and stronger, and you get a greater pump, because all the amino acids, all the creatine, all the citrulline malate, all the supplements you use for a pump will always work better with a transporter such as Carbex to push and shuttle those into your cells. If you've not tried it and you're thinking you're not getting as much of a bang for the buck from your pump product, I would say perhaps add a scoop of this and see how you get on. All right, so let's go get training. All right, so this is my boy, Luca. Now he's 14, he's taller than me already. He started going to the gym, and everyone says to him, do you want to be a bodybuilder like your dad?
No.
Why not?
Because you're too muscular.
Too muscular. What do you want from coming to the gym today?
Lean.
You want to be lean?
Yeah.
So what's every 14-year-old's physique goals? Because when I was young, I wanted to be like Arnold.
Probably, have you heard of a person called David Lade or something like that? I can't remember his full name.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, so that's abs and lean.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so on the way to the gym, they've got a choice of 2 cars. They just bought this, well, really as a business expense and for my missus to drive around. And then obviously I've always had a Range Rover. But we're going to go in the CLA. It's a nice new car, brand new. It's only done 0 miles. So let's have a look what one of these looks like inside. So we're going to train chest, shoulders and triceps, so known as a push day. We're going to do this at the Lab Gym, which is in Hemel Hempstead. So if you've not been, it's a really nicely equipped gym owned by Chris there, and he has handpicked some of the best equipment. It's quite a small gym. It's on 3 floors though, so it's spread out. And well, the good thing about the gym is if it's busy on one floor, you can go to another, or if you want a bit more time, go to the second floor. So we'll see where we train today. We've got chest options on both floors. Just got to first navigate this Hemel Hempstead magic roundabout, which is, I don't know, it's the only one in the country, but it's about 8 roundabouts in one. I'm used to it, but lots of people have accidents on here. And yeah, we're going to park in Milo Centre. They give you free parking in the Milo Centre, people. And it's just like a 2-minute walk out the centre to the front door. So nice thing about this gym is this last hot day of the year in the UK, it's one of the only gyms around me that's air conditioned. So if you're going to put a hard workout in and you're sweating like crazy, that you can do in some of these warehouse type gyms with glass roofs, it can become really hard and detrimental on the actual output of your session. Sometimes something like an air conditioned gym makes all the difference. So that's where we're off to today, and we will see you in there.
See my originality, this not reality. My eyes be say I'm from China, but you can never imitate me. Temptation, temptation, she go chop my money. She don't want none of that, no, she wanna be my honey. I don't need motivation, no, I just one dose of your medication.
Also, got back from the gym, had a little hour kip in the garden on this last day of the sun. Look at the redness from the sunnies. Anyway, Now we're moving on to the evening meals at 6 o'clock. And Sam, my beautiful other half, is cooking dinner. So tonight for dinner, she's done a variation on my macro. So where I can have minced beef, 5%, and rice, which is one of the meals, and pineapple. We can have 200 grams of potato instead of the rice and the minced beef, a tiny bit of skinny cheese, and make these like a dirty loaded fries, but without any of the dirt. So they're quite healthy. So let's have a look what it looks like.
Sam, look. That's your own fault, isn't it?
What about you, kid?
I didn't know how spicy it was.
Put on too much spice on your dinner.
Onion. No, they've put extra sauce on top of it. It's not my cooking. There's garlic. Right, that's one.
Sam, what are you doing to us?
Oh, that is not my cooking. It's the sauce that you put on it.
Trying to cheese.
Tiny bit.
He's had enough of us.
Right, looks good. Looks sorted. Right, meal 5 going down now. So time is 8:30, so it's getting a bit late. That's the problem when you get up a little bit later, is it pushes your meals back. So we're going to get 2 more meals in before bedtime. I'll have a very small one now, and then one about 10 o'clock, after 10, and go to bed by around 11. So this meal here, really basic, and in order to keep the digestion really easy, there's no veg because we're a little bit behind. So just using strategy here, in order for this to digest quicker, adding fiber is going to slow digestion, which is great when you're hungry because you want to fill up on low calories. Fiber is great. Salads, vegetables, and fruit is great. Here we're going to keep it fairly low, so it's digested well enough in time for me to have another meal before bed. So this is just 145 grams of chicken with just put a few of these cherry tomatoes in there, just for a bit of color, really. And then 45 grams of cream of rice with 100 grams of blueberries, a little bit of stevia to sweeten it, a little bit of cinnamon, well, a lot of cinnamon because I love that. And then 16 grams of almond butter. Now, if you're using almond butter and use any sorts of fats, it's always diligent for you to weigh them because they're very calorie dense. Now, the best way to weigh almond butter is to weigh the pot and then put the spoon in the pot and lift it up. So you're drawing out the amount you need rather than sort of over guesstimating it perhaps and throwing it on top of your meal, and then you might have easily put 30 grams on when you was after 16. So this is a way to do it. Get this meal down now, and then we'll look at the final meal before bedtime. After a shower, definitely need one. So here's the meal. Here's the 145 chicken, a few cherry tomatoes, 45 grams of cream of rice, 100 grams of frozen blueberries. This cream of rice, I always cook it with boiling water, and then once it's cooled down, put it in the fridge. I prefer it cold. And then just zero your scale with your almond butter. Now, if you like nut butter like me, I tend to just buy the smooth one because if I buy the nutty one with crunchy bits, I tend to eat too much. All right, and there we go. 15 grams, that'll do, close enough. And then kind of just mix that over. I love almond butter. That's going to go down really nice, easy digesting, super quick, tasty meal. Ready for a shower and the final one to come. All right, so now 9 o'clock. Before it gets too late, going to get a 20-minute walk done on a treadmill at home, just to help that meal digest, help digestion settle down prior to that last meal. Quick shower after this, and then we'll tuck into the last meal. So movement, daily steps is really important to help with digestion, especially as you get older. If you're not trying to get your steps in between meals, you should be. Even a 10-minute walk after meals really helps. You haven't got to go madly fast, but the faster the better. The more calories you can burn will help in a fat loss state. And yeah, let's get this done. Okay, so shower is done and we're on to the final meal of the night. So it's about 10:15 now. And so what I'll do at this point here is just take some of my evening supplements that just help with recovery, sleep, fiber, and so on. And then we'll tuck into this last meal. And I want to show you a couple of little tips as well, which is what I would use for if you've got a sweet tooth, having like some cordial through the day, which is really low in calories, no added sugar, Ribena, I think, is the best one purely because it doesn't contain sucralose. So it does contain sweetener. The sucralose is often the sweetener that causes bloating. And then another little tip is if you've got a sweet tooth, make yourself a big bowl of sugar-free jelly. Got literally no calories in it. It's just additional water to your day. And having a little bowl of that in the evening for no guilt is a way to fend off those sweet cravings. So our last meal of the night is going to be pretty typical to what I had earlier in the day. And that is just 145 grams of wild caught salmon. It's just been air fried with 20 grams of this raw sauerkraut. And then we got another 45 grams of cream of rice. And I actually use a mix of cream of rice and plain rice flour because it comes out thicker, got less sweetener in it. Add 100 grams of frozen berries. This has been done and put in the fridge again. And then just 8 grams of almond butter. I'll just dust this with cinnamon now. And a little tip for you guys, if you're trying not to eat late or eat more than your last meal at night. I know it's late here now, but often when I'm in a dieting phase and the diet is really tight, I might even take this meal up to bed because then I'm away from downstairs, away from the temptation of the kitchen, away from snacks. And I might take us up to bed at like 9, eat that, watch a movie in bed, read a book, he says, never does. And maybe an hour or so later, get some shut-eye. So there's a tip to stop you eating is remove yourself from the temptation. All right. And I will see you on the next YouTube. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, follow, comment, share, just click buttons. And I'll see you on the next one.